Among the analytical priorities concerning the multiple discontinuities that signal a world in transformation, we must not overlook the one related to ecopolitics. Thanks to glaciological research, we will gain scientific data useful for clarifying the dynamics and phases of climate change, estimating its timing and potential impacts, and thus calibrating eco-adaptive investments to safeguard the productive and residential continuity of social systems that had adapted to a past climatic regime now undergoing mutation. I received news from the British Antarctic Survey, BAS, that the decade-long project funded by the EU, with primary involvement from Italy's CNR and participation from about 10 European nations, has successfully extracted an Antarctic ice core that enables reconstruction of planetary climate from approximately 1.2 million years ago to the present. The physico-chemical analysis of the various time-stamped and melted ice segments will now begin in several European laboratories using innovative technologies. I'm writing about it now, before results are available, because at a late September conference BAS researchers issued a warning: ice melt is occurring faster than previously estimated, with consequent rises in sea levels and an increase in extreme weather events. I jumped out of my chair, just as I did back in 1988, when I was part of the advisory group to the UN Secretary-General, coordinated by Frank Press, then president of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, for the creation of a global policy on the prevention and mitigation of natural disasters, UNIDNDR. At that time, atmospheric scientists and climatologists identified the risk of uninhabitability of coastal areas and river deltas, potentially affecting 70% of the world's population due to a projected sea level rise of about 7 meters. As an economist, I immediately pointed out, using pencil and paper calculations, that relocating such a vast population and productive infrastructure would have a catastrophically depressive effect, and that we would therefore need to terraform the land-sea boundary to preserve the continuity of human settlements. I asked, in terms of analyzing the investment effort, for centuries, 3, 2, or just 1? The responses ranged between 4 and 2 centuries, with some scientists already at the time advocating for accelerated decarbonization, whatever the cost. I replied that we needed to be cautious about the divergence between environmental and economic sustainability, considering that it would take more than a century to phase out dependence on fossil fuels. The issue remained open, awaiting data that could clarify the natural cycle of climate change combined with the greenhouse effect, data from which both the problem and its solution could be understood. Soon, those data will arrive. My sense is that we should at least begin anticipating calculations and scenarios, because eco-adaptive investments must be distributed over the long term and require highly complex preparation in both engineering and policy. This includes accelerating next-generation nuclear energy, developing new desalination technologies, undertaking large-scale terraforming projects, and managing flood flows and desertification containment. I suggest that fellow economists reach out to the CNR to foster convergence between climate scenario modeling and financial planning,